Do you just want a Japan adventure that's 100% entirely different to what everyone else is doing? Well, you've come to the right place. I'm Andrew and I love making your trips to Japan easier, and today I'm going to share with you a very special itinerary because we're going to be getting out of Kyoto and Osaka and taking a trip to some of my absolute favourite spots in Kansai and beyond. First, we'll journey to the north coast where some breathtaking scenic views and one of the most beautiful villages in Japan are waiting for us. Then we'll go inland and jump back in time to the days of shogun and samurai with two magical castles that survived earthquakes and wars and are still here to tell their fascinating stories. We'll then venture over to a greatly underrated city over in Shikoku before heading north again to a place you'd expect to see in the Middle East but not in Japan. And we wrap up the itinerary with a real hidden gem that you won't want to miss, deep in the south of Nara Prefecture. I've designed this itinerary to be used with JR's Kansai Wide Area Pass, and if you haven't already watched my video guide about it, then the link is in the description. This itinerary starts and finishes in Osaka, so it's easy to fit into a 7-day schedule if you're flying in and out of Kansai Airport. It's a very full itinerary and does involve some long train rides. So if you want a more relaxing schedule, I recommend spending an extra day or half day in the places that intrigue you the most. So if you're ready for this extraordinary adventure, settle down and listen to how this trip is going to unfold for you. On day one, we set off in Osaka with a short hop to Kyoto. There we catch the Hasedera, an express train which winds its way through mountains and rustic valleys before arriving at one of the most picturesque spots in all of Japan, Amanohashidate. This is one of the illustrious trio of beautiful sites chosen centuries ago, known as the Nihon Sanke. The other two are Matsushima near Sendai and Miyajima, an island which you probably visited if you've been to Hiroshima. Personally, I'd put Amanohashidate top of the three because the view from on high is so enthralling, but also because there's so much more to do here and it's actually very easy to find some tranquility even on busy days. Take a leisurely stroll across the arching sandbar draped in pine trees and breathe in the stillness and fresh air of the north coast. When you reach the other side, you'll be faced with a choice of cable car or chairlift, and before you know it, you'll be drinking in one of the most celebrated vistas in the whole of the country. Get into the right position and you'll see how this incredible spot got its name as the Bridge to Heaven. And once you've captured the scene for your Instagram, the next step is taking a short bus ride further up the coast to the magnificent village of Ine. Here you can expect to be captivated by the timeless atmosphere of a rural fishing community where the wooden houses are built with garages for boats rather than cars. Here I recommend joining one of the 25-minute boat tours around the bay before taking a leisurely stroll through the village to absorb the sights and sounds of the rhythm of life in rural Japan. Now you have a choice. You can stay in Amanohashidate for one night and enjoy a slow-paced end to the day, but if you want to catch one of the most breathtaking views of your life and you're also visiting in the fall, you'll need to take 2 more trains along the coast to get to Asugo City and get yourself an early night at your accommodation, because on day 2, if you can get up at the crack of dawn and you're up to a short hike uphill in the dark and you also have a touch of good fortune, then you'll witness the truly jaw-dropping sea of clouds enveloping the ruins of Takeda Castle. There's really nothing quite like this experience. You really will believe that there's such a thing as a castle floating in the sky, and the majesty of the clouds rolling through the valley is a sight that you're going to treasure for the rest of your life. And from here you can then go on to explore the ruins of Takeda Castle up close after taking a short bus ride up the hill. The ruins here at Takeda are known as the Machu Picchu of Japan, and the history of the site is full of intrigue, tragedy and mystery. The view of the ruins from the summit is impressive any time of year, and you can easily get a sense of how the castle could control movements on the ground, including the access to a nearby silver mine. Once you've finished pretending to be king of this particular castle, I recommend taking the mountain path down to the railway station, which runs through some of the old castle town area. Now, by staying overnight in Asugo City, you should be able to finish touring the mysterious ruins well before lunchtime, and that's good because if Takeda doesn't satisfy your taste for getting in touch with Japan's deep history, then as long as you're up for a 90-minute train ride down to Himeji, you'll be confronted by Japan's best best preserved feudal castle. Dating from around the same time as Takeda in the 1400s, the so-called White Heron Castle is the great survivor of all of Japan's fortresses, getting through fires, earthquakes and wars, and living to tell all its tales. You'll find that there are a lot of reconstructed castles across Japan, meaning that the original buildings, and there are only 12 in total, are all the more precious. Himeji is rightly a World Heritage Site, and possibly the most awe-inspiring of any castle you'll see in Japan. Take the whole afternoon to explore the panoramic views from the narrow windows at the top and get lost in the labyrinth of corridors inside the keep, because this is the last stop for day 2 and we're overnighting here in Himeji. On day 3, we continue the adventure with a short blast westward on the bullet train before we transfer to a southward liner train that starts with a 9-kilometer cruise over a series of bridges known as the Seto Ohashi Bridge. We're heading for Takamatsu, a charming seaside city that's probably most commonly known as a gateway for the art-filled islands of Naoshima and Shodoshima. But we're sticking with Takamatsu itself this time because the morning starts with a journey to the exquisite Ritsurin Garden, one of the great masterpieces of Japanese landscape design. For such an expansive garden, the attention to detail is truly staggering, and it's often been said that it deserves to be on the list of Japan's top 3 gardens. And perhaps because it isn't on that list, or perhaps because of its relatively remote location, you're much less likely to find it completely saturated with crowds, which can only be a good thing. You'll want to drink in every inch of this perfect blend of ponds, bridges, tea houses, and meticulously pruned trees. Once you're finished being wowed, you'll want to head back into the city for Takamatsu's legendary meal, Sanuki Udon. Sanuki is what Takamatsu Prefecture used to be called, and although the dish has grown in popularity across the country, this is by far the best place to eat it. The noodles are slightly firm and have a chewy texture, made possible by using a special kind of wheat, and there are many kinds of udon restaurants in the city. In the afternoon, head over to Shikokumura, a living museum with an extensive collection of relocated buildings from all over Shikoku. Many of the structures date back several hundred years and include thatched farmhouses and storehouses, part of a traditional soy sauce factory, as well as a kabuki theatre. But my personal favourite is the suspension bridge made from vines. This kind of bridge has been commonly used in the past in this region, and although this one is beefed up with steel cables, they do nothing to close the gaps below your feet, and it makes for an exhilarating trek to the other side. Just don't drop your smartphone into the pond. After this full day, sit back and relax on the ride back to Honshu, but don't worry, the overnight stop for day 3 is Okayama, so you don't have to wait too long before finding your accommodation. Now, if you're finding this video helpful, give me a thumbs up so it can spread to more people, and if you've got any questions, let me know down in the comments. Day 4 starts with a long hop of less than 2 hours up to Tottori, and you might want to buckle up because you're going to be hit with a spot that makes absolutely no sense to find in Japan, but hey, it's there. I'm talking about the Tottori sand dunes, or Japan's very own desert. This vast expanse of golden sand stretches as far as the eye can see, and you'll want to savour the sensation of trekking all the way to the top of the dunes for the incredible panorama of this sandscape next to the Sea of Japan. It's one mesmerising experience that never feels like Japan to me, no matter how many times I visit. If thrill-seeking is your kind of thing, Tottori is also your kind of place. Do you want to give paragliding a try and swoop through the air with the dunes at your feet? Or perhaps you'd rather join a Segway tour at the edge of the dunes. The tours follow a carefully managed route designed to protect the habitat, and you'll learn all about the unique geography of the area and have a blast as you glide along with the sea breeze in your hair. There's just time in the day now to head back to the station and catch the last train back to Osaka, the overnight stop for day 4. As you head into the final day, you might be worried that you'll be running low on energy, but it's okay because today's journey is relatively short. We're again heading off the beaten track, but this time it's south of Nara. We're off to Hasedera Temple. Now, I know I said in the intro that you might not want to see any more temples, but let me prove you wrong here, because I think this one is a cut above the rest. Just 90 minutes from Osaka and you're dropped into an isolated village right in the middle of a valley. And that's where you begin your ascent up the side of the mountain, up through an inclined corridor until you reach the temple itself with its spectacular pagoda and a balcony attached to the main hall with incredible views of the valley below. It reminds me of Kiyomizu Temple in Kyoto. but the setting gives this place an even grander scale. And actually, I think Hasedera is just as impressive as any temple you'll find in Kyoto. But being set deep in the heart of Nara Prefecture, you're less likely to find the place overcrowded and more likely to enjoy the peace and tranquility of this mountainside sanctuary. It's possibly the perfect way to end this tour of West Japan before you head back into Osaka. If you'd like a more detailed version of this itinerary, including information on the exact trains to take, as well as recommendations on where to eat and places to stay, check out the link in the pinned comment, and once you've done that you'll want to get ready for your trip, so go and watch this video with all my best tips for travelling here. See ya!